Daz Dee TV.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Daz Dee TV. And in this episode, I have absolutely no idea what we're going to be talking about. Well, that's not strictly speaking true. I want to just give you a bit of an oversight over what I've been up to this week. And I imagine what we'll probably spend a bit more time talking about is how to program resisted sled sprinting into your training week. Because I've got an athlete that I'm working with at the moment, and it's something that is quite interesting to me to talk about. So I've been doing a bit of research on how to program resisted sled sprinting into my physical training program, and I want to share that with you. So we'll get to that. But basically, this week's been a really fantastic week. Started off with my weekly visit to Sutton Tennis Academy, and had a good opportunity there to really spend some time with the director of the mini tennis program. So this is the children who are starting their tennis journey, and they're usually between the ages of around about 5 and 10 years old. And we got into some great conversations about what does it actually take to make it as a pro, in terms of how much tennis should you be playing, what kind of competition schedule should you be following, what kind of physical training program, how much other sports should you play. So I really think that is a really interesting topic, and I'm quite keen to get into that in another episode. So that's something that I'll definitely pick up another day. But really interesting topic. Got lots of opinions on it, and I'm going to share them with you soon, I promise. Also, when I was there, I was presenting to my team, and I'll write this on the whiteboard, my kind of speed training system. And you've heard me talk about this before with the first step speed, the straight ahead speed, the multi-directional speed, and then the sport specific speed. But let me just write something down here. So with first step speed, I break this down, and I'll just put this here. First step speed into starts, which are kind of over around about 5 meters, but they can be in any direction. That's what makes it first step speed and not straight ahead speed, where we're just focusing on a linear acceleration, so any direction. I also have in there my plyos, because we know that jumping strongly correlates with sprinting performance because of the use of the stretch shortening cycle. And I also have in here something called fast feet, which is what I want to talk about quickly. And in fast feet, we have things like line drills, ladder drills, and cone drills. So I'm going to show you this now. So hopefully, whiteboard is about to break. Hopefully you can see what I'm talking about now. So that's how I break down first step speed into starts, plyos, and then fast speed. And this is the thing that I was having a chat with one of my coaches on, because he was like, so what do you think about ladder drills? And I said, well, I do them. And I showed him this, and I explained to him that for me, fast feet drills have a role to play in helping someone to develop first step speed. Now we know that fast feet drills don't have significant force production capabilities. When you're doing your fast feet drills, that tap, 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 you're not producing large forces. You're certainly not producing the kind of horizontal forces that might help you accelerate forwards. But I like to think of it as having a role in doing a couple of things. Number one, coordination development is the action of being able to do a ladder pattern that has a rhythm to it, a certain specific pattern to it, and your foot spacing has to be consistent through that ladder. Is that going to have a role in improving someone's intramuscular coordination? Yes. Is that saying, let's say the classic icky shuffle pattern, is that necessarily going to translate into improved sports performance at changing direction and cutting? Probably not. But then, as well as the coordination aspect of it, I think that neurological stimulation, that ability to tap into what I call frequency speed, So you're not necessarily producing high forces, but you're producing high velocities. I think that frequency speed has a role to play, particularly in sports where you're trying to disorientate and imbalance your opponent. So maybe like in a rugby example, before you quickly check and change direction, you're using some of those kind of like fast feet on the spot and a little bit of kind of swaying of your shoulders just to distract and unbalance your opponent before you then apply those big forces into the ground. So that was something that I talked about, and if you want to talk about it with me in more detail, drop a comment, give me a question on Facebook or Instagram, and I'm more than happy to go into it in a bit more detail. So that happened at Sutton. When we were at Gosling this week, the big thing that I finally did, and I promised my team I'd be doing this for years and years, was to start doing some case studies. And it's been coming for a long time, and I have to admit we've been having one meeting, SNC meeting, a week for as long as I've had a team. So we're talking, since 2008. But we've never really put as much time as we should do into sharing best practice and doing case studies. So I kicked it off this week, and I shared a case study on one of my players that I work with, a 14-year-old girl who happens to be developing a number of physical qualities, one of which is improving her ability to accelerate. So the case study we did, I'll just show you this, hopefully you can see this. These were the themes that we went through. So looking at their ranking, looking at their tennis game style and their tennis identity, we had a look at their annual plan, we looked at their key physical priorities and any testing results, and then we looked at their weekly schedule. And as I said, one of the things that I'm interested in developing in this athlete is their physical ability to accelerate, because they tend to get quite upright and they're not really able to apply those horizontal forces that you need to accelerate effectively over like 0 to 5 meters, let's say. And the reason this is really interesting to me is because this is someone who in the gym is relatively strong. They weigh 70 kilos, let's say, and are comfortably able to squat 70 kilos for 5 sets of 5 reps. For a female at 14 years old, obviously it's nothing huge to write home about, but for a tennis player, this is, showing me that they have adequate ability to generate vertical forces, but those are not transferring into those horizontal force production qualities that we're looking for. So I'm more inclined to look about programming in some resisted sled sprint training into her program. So lots of research, and I would say to you that a good place to look if you're interested in doing some of your own research, come across the website, where is it here, freelapusa.com. So obviously this is a website that is predominantly selling the free lap timing system, and they've got a really good blog, and they have lots of guest writers that write all about different aspects of speed training. And then also linked to that, they have another, I'm not sure if they're a partnership or whether they just work together, but called Simply Faster, Simply Faster, SIMPLI faster.com. Again, predominantly in the business of selling training assessment tools, but also have a fantastic blog. And I've got a couple of different blog articles about resisted sled sprint training, which I think would be really interesting. And one of the things that they were saying is that typically the way in which we have programmed in the resistance that you should have on a sled is to say, put the heaviest load on the sled that you can that still allows the athlete to complete that acceleration distance, let's say 5 or 10 or 20 meters, within 10% of the unloaded sprint performance. So let's say that they normally do 20 meters in 3 seconds, then you need to put on a resistance that enables them to still get within 10% of that 3-second time. So in most cases, that's going to be a resistance that I would imagine is going up to about 10% of their body weight, and possibly for some exceptionally strong athletes it could go higher into 20 or 30% body mass. There's some new research that's coming out that's saying that if you want to promote improvements in the physiological characteristics of accelerating, so we're talking about more that maximal strength and power, that there's a lot of research that's saying that you can go as much as 80% body mass, and you're going to get some real good gains in their ability to produce force in that horizontal direction. So that's something that I'm looking at now, something I'm interested in. I will be testing it with my athlete and trying to find out more about it. So again, if it's something you're interested in, I'll put some of the blog articles that I've been reading, and then obviously some of the research papers that are attached to those blogs, and you can check them out for yourself. So that's something that is interesting to me. And so hopefully that helps, and I hope that this will inspire you to reflect on your programming as it relates to first step speed with the use of the ladders. It might even get you thinking about how you want to develop your straight ahead speed components with respect to your acceleration and the use of the resisted sled sprints. And also, when you're writing your strength programs, where do you sit on this strength continuum, and what kind of things are you using to develop strength? What kind of sets and rep schemes are you using? And also, what kind of measures or benchmarks are you using to signal when you need to change the stimulus and change the program? So hopefully that helps. Have a fantastic day. Take care.
Daz Dee